Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, the old saying that those who preach the most generally have the most to hide turns out to be true exactly when it comes to the Walt Disney Company, because as of obviously the Walt Disney Company has been all about diversity, inclusion, and equity. It's been all about women power and women's rights and all of the equality and equity and all of this other kind of nonsense. We have seen them do this time and time again to several of their different franchises out there, all a bunch of virtue signaling. Why is it virtue signaling? Well, boys and girls, we can go back to the Star Wars days of where they decided to shrink Finn's character for the Chinese release because they know how the Chinese people view black people. And guess what? It turns out the most recent lawsuit that the Walt Disney Company got sued over is for the exact same kind of policies they advocate for. And guess what? It turns out Disney was telling everybody else what to do, but not doing the exact same thing inside their own company. Yes, boys and girls, the one who accuses us all of being ists and phobes and everything else, it turns out they weren't equally treating women inside their own corporation either. And now they have admitted fault and are paying out tens of millions of dollars to all of the women they have slighted over the years working at the Walt Disney Corporation. And no, boys and girls, this isn't something that goes back decades and decades. No, this goes back to 2015 when it really got full steam ahead with all of the diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense over the Walt Disney Company. And now the truth is being exposed, and they're the exact hypocrites we have always accused them of being. Because as you can see over here from Variety.com and the dear sweet Jen Mattis, Disney to pay $43 million to settle class action over gender pay gap. Yes, boys and girls, it turns out it was true. After cracking into Disney's books and in their numbers, it's all been exposed as true that yes, they were indeed, despite all of their women power about all of their promoting women equality and saying no glass ceiling, and the patriarchy's been so mean and it's been oppressing all of these women the entire time. Well, guess what? It turns out Disney was doing the exact thing that they were preaching against the entire time. And this kind of hypocrisy deserves to be exposed and laughed out and ridiculed to show you why these virtue signals never meant anything at all, because Disney wouldn't even apply it inside of their own house. So we're going to check out this article from Variety.com, getting all of the juicy details and see exactly what's going on right here and exactly what all kind of laws and all the other kind of fun things they violated. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Does it surprise you at all that Disney is filled with nothing but a bunch of hypocrites who give lip service to all of these kind of cold, trendy, kind of ideology, spirit of the age kind of things out there, and of course don't actually do it inside of their own house? Or are you one of the true believers? Are you one of the pixie dusters out there that is shocked and absolutely blown away at the fact that Disney did not live up to their own standards that they were preaching? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. So from Variety.com, Disney has agreed to pay $43.25 million to settle a class action lawsuit that accused the company of systematically paying women less than their male employees with the same experience. Yes, boys and girls, Disney indeed was part of that evil patriarchy holding down women the entire time. The plaintiff's attorney filed a motion on Monday to seek approval of the settlement, which would cover a broad range of salaried Disney employees in California. Yep, because they violated a California law. Boy, don't you just love the woke on woke crime? If the petition is granted, thousands of women who have worked for Disney since April 1st, 2015 will receive checks to compensate for the wage disparity. The lawsuit was filed in 2019, alleging that Disney policies, including basing new hires' salary on their pay at their previous employer, resulted in discrimination against women. A study commissioned by the plaintiffs found that one category of women was paid 2% less than their male counterparts, while a separate category was paid 0.58% less. Now, which that doesn't sound like a lot, but when these people are making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a salary, you're talking like that's 20, 30 grand a year. That's a huge difference. That's a car in some cases, boys and girls, although probably not with the current prices. But you get my point right here, right? Like, that's absolutely insane. That can amount to a lot of money. Disney continues to dispute the validity of the study, but has agreed to use it as a basis in which to appropriate the settlement funds. Oh, yes. Well, we don't agree with what you're saying, but you know what? We're going to pay you to shut up and go away. Not that we've done anything wrong. Not that we're going to spend tens of millions of dollars. We're not admitting fault. No, 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 no. We're just saying, you know what? It's cheaper for us to just go ahead and pay you out. That's because they knew they were going to lose in court. Disney's lawyers are some of the fiercest, most evil and vile psychopaths we have ever seen cross the law firm industry out there. And ladies and gentlemen, if they knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that they were going to win this in court, there is no way in hell they would have just settled. And guess what? This is absolutely Disney admitting fault. Under the agreement, the plaintiff's attorneys can seek judicial approval for up to 1/3 of the settlement amount, or about $14.4 million, to cover legal fees plus $1.8 million in litigation expenses. 9 women were named in the lawsuit as representatives of the Disney employees. LaRonda Rasmussen, a financial analyst at the company, discovered in 2017 that 6 men with her title were all making significantly more than she was. According to the lawsuit, after she complained, she received a $25,000 raise, but was still paid less than her average male counterpart, according to the suit. So even though she brought this up and told them that, hey, this isn't fair, this isn't right, you're paying me differently than what you're paying the females out there, or the males out there, then guess what? They still didn't do it. They just gave them a little bit, just a little bit. And this is what I'm saying. These percentages don't sound very big, but $25,000, boys and girls, that's more than I make in a year. And that's what her raise was. That's how far less she was making than her male counterpart. That is absolutely insane. I strongly recommend Ms. Rasmussen and the women who brought this discriminatory suit against Disney, one of the largest entertainment companies in the world. They risked their careers to raise the pay disparity at Disney. And yeah, it's given a lot of other statements and a lot of other legal jargon for the rest of the story. But at the end of the day, that's not what really matters here, right? What matters is that Disney, whether they are legally admitted fault or not, you don't pay out a almost $50 million settlement unless you know you're not going to be able to win this in court, because Disney has all of their lawyers on retainer. This isn't going to cost them a whole lot of extra money to have these people actually fight this and go through all this kind of nonsense. No, this is them avoiding this going to a full-blown trial, this going to a full-blown jury thing, because guess what? Even more discrepancies could have been exposed. This could launch investigations into the rest of the company and go through and have every single one of their jobs examined, have their entire books cracked open, and if nothing else, that is something that Disney is absolutely willing to pay almost $50 million to avoid at all costs, because I guarantee you, it wasn't just these 9 women. There was plenty of others. There were probably thousands of female employees at the Walt Disney Company with the exact same amount of experience and the exact same level of job, making less than their male counterparts, because guess what? Disney is full of just a bunch of hypocrites. They are do as I say and not as I do kind of people, and this lawsuit exposes exactly that. The Walt Disney Company, like the majority of these corporations out there, they were never true believers in any of your kind of diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense. They got sold a bill of goods from the marketing team and from their HR department saying that this was going to be the new hot thing and it was going to bring in this modern audience that they have found out that never existed, because guess what? They were never actually truly true believers. If they were, they would have fixed these kind of discrepancies within their own company first before they advocated for the rest of the world to go along with it. But the Disney Corporation didn't do that. At the end of the day, the almighty dollar is what mattered the most. They wanted to hire these people for as cheap as they possibly could to save the most money. Be damned discrimination between men and women. Be damned any of the kind of pay gaps or any of that other kind of nonsense. Oh, that glass ceiling. Yeah, Disney perfectly installed it just fine and had no problem leaving it there as long as it was saving them money. And guess what? That's exactly what it comes down to. Disney is just like every other corporation out there. Money is their ultimate god more than anything else. And there are very few corporations out there who are willing to sacrifice their entire company on the altar of the cult. And the Walt Disney Company was obviously one of those that the money mattered more than all of their virtue signaling nonsense. And now this lawsuit has exposed them as the exact hypocrites they were. That's why we never believed in any virtue signaling. That's why we never believed in all of your diversity, inclusion, and equity. That's why we knew all of your race swapping, gender swapping, and other kind of nonsense was nothing more than red flags, because we knew none of it was honest, none of it was true, and none of it came from a good place. It came from trying to save your butts from getting a bunch of bad PR PR. And guess what? It's backfired on you now. And you have even worse PR with even worse optics because you have essentially, to the broader audience, to the public out there, admitted you were a bunch of ists out there paying women less than you were paying men. And this lawsuit proves it. Disney is nothing more than a bunch of hypocrites, and their virtue signaling was just that. Virtue signaling, and it never had any substance because at the end of the day, the almighty dollar mattered more to Disney than any of your kind of cult-like nonsense and all of your woke agenda. And now Disney's paying out almost $50 million for it. And it's exactly what they deserve. Don't you love it when hypocrisy is exposed?